Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. I'm showing the deployment on this one just because my ally has chosen the name, my enemy here has chosen the name of Computer, and he is very much not, so just as proof this isn't a game against the real computer, we did see him deploy units beforehand, which of course the computer does not do. This is a 1v1, we're back on Punch Bowl, and I'm playing as Blue Dragons, one of my favorite decks in the entire game, going forward here toward Echo, Bravo, and Charlie, trying to make use of some of the lessons I've learned recently on how to handle this map by going for a very aggressive push toward Delta early on. So we also do have some ATGMs going forward toward Bravo, some infantry as well, scout infantry and HMVs, and Akio Marushiki is backing up this side of the field with a bunch of infantry and Tansem short arrows headed toward the town in Echo and through the woods here. So traditional sort of opening, I guess, in that regard, and not a lot here is exactly novel, but the Chumat right away see a bit of an opportunity, but they're a little bit too far back, so I need to get them forward, I need to get those guns online, and my OH-60 is just headed over to see what I can see. There's a T-90S, big boy of course, 170 points, North Korean tank, but a PGZ-95 gets quick revenge there, and yeah, OH-60 is not going to survive that for very long. So the Ninja is going to be a bit cagey from here on out. I do have Tokchon Sa in the UH-60P that will get a successful touchdown on that side, but I do have to be a little bit cautious. I'm trying to spread myself a little bit thin on purpose, trying to do this a little bit more competitively than previously, but I did also have a misclick here. My infantry should already be in these towns, and they're not. I do have some trouble sometimes getting them in there right off the bat when they should be, so smoke is going down, trying to block off ATGMs and tanks on this side. If we take a look, that was going to be not really that impactful, as most of my opponent's play is in Bravo, the big T-90S, PGZ-95, and then there's not a lot on the ground. And that's kind of interesting. I didn't realize this at the time, I didn't know, but there is a huge investment in air, which is going to be making itself present and felt very quickly. Also, Yukjundai, of course, is pretty expensive, so a lot of the troops that were on the ground were just very, very expensive troops. JSTF Rangers and Haebyung, of course, Haebyung not exactly the cheapest either, but these Yukjundai getting caught out and killed in the open ground is just a little bit upsetting to their owner, I would have to imagine. Chumat are trying to get a couple shots, and BTR-80A does go down to them, and I don't know, this was something, my Akio Marushiki is moving over. I thought maybe I can get a nice kill on the T-90S. I should be smoking this side, but I'm not. I'm trying to get just the right position here and also move forward with JSTF Rangers. Here comes a B5. That's that air investment, and my poor Chumat and Haebyung. I mean, look at this. Right next to him, everything there is dead. My Akio Marushiki's on his own, just side shot on that T-90S, and down he goes. So, yeah, I lost the entire position. I lost the Haebyung. I lost all of that. But my opponent did lose a 170-point tank, basically for free. We are retreating back now. We should have smoke following there shortly. Yep, off the K242. And this is terrifying. I mean, I have nothing between my home zone and Bravo, so calling out a K1, moving some of my recon infantry that were supposed to be up in Charlie over here to mind that gap, as it were. And the Tokchon Sa finally unloaded, kind of ignored previously, finally unloaded and moving toward Delta. In the meantime, there's another double stack of Geogosk 90, and this was something I was beginning to suspect that my opponent was more of the elite sort of couple of places style of play than the flood everything sort of style of play, and if we look, that seems to be more or less correct. I mean, a lot of expensive units were lost here, the T-90S was lost there, but there's a single unit of the elite infantry here, backed up by Iglas, a couple of BTRs, really not that expensive. Of course, neither is my stuff, but I mean, just look at the comparative coverage there. Hachi Nanashiki, Socheng Su, Chumat, Socheng Su, Hachi Nanashiki, and there's just a single hardpoint or two over here. So this is what the early investment in air can sometimes do to you, and a Block 52D does come in and take out that Radar AA piece, leaving a single BRDM-1 between, between Bravo and my opponent's home zone. So probably not the best time to call out a command vehicle there, but it was probably bought right before this side was kind of blown through a bit more, and if I had only known, man, I would have charged with the best of them, but of course, scouting is as scouting does, and I had no eyes in this section. SU-25K coming in, and I'm not really sure what he's looking for with those SAL-H missiles. Might be the Hachi Nanashiki, one missile away, and I don't know. Evac ordered. Yeah, okay, he got the Hachi Nanashiki, one missile coming in, but he does survive. And here comes another B5 bomber. Look at all of these, all of this sadness about to come in. JSTF Rangers, Socheng Su, K200s, and plop is going to just end their entire career. Beautiful, beautiful placement of that B5 bomber from my opponent. Couldn't have asked for better, and my lack of long-distance anti-plane AA is coming back to bite me. Of course, my 52D was on cooldown after using up one of his anti-radar missiles over in the other part of the map. So, calling out command infantry for Charlie, we are still holding here with Tukjun-sa, and if we look, there's really not that much for either of us. BRDM-1, Tukjun-sa, BJ-212. I could have pushed forward here with the Tukjun-sa, but that's risky. Oftentimes people will do, you know, a command vehicle, but then a couple of cheap infantry. And these guys with the Carl Gustav M2s could reasonably kill their fire support, but probably not the combination of both. So I would have probably lost the Tukjun-sa if there had been more of a hold there than there was, and again, no way of knowing that until it happens. So, K200's bringing out reinforcements, and once these guys get forward and moving, then I'll feel comfortable moving K1s up. Of course, this does also mean that my opponent has had time to reinforce, but look at that, those B5s have just thinned out this side of the field so much, it's incredible. So Chung-Su trying to move back. Sometimes my infantry seems to get drunk and not actually go into buildings. If you guys know why that is, I mean, I told them to go into the building here, and they're just like, okay, well, fine. And then I force-snapped them to the building on the left. But just kind of annoying sometimes. Kiyomaro Shiki going back to anchor this side of the field as enemy reinforcements are spotted moving down the highway. I don't want anything to have a direct line through here, and of course the Tansam short arrow cannot protect himself, but it looks like we do lose our K200 and we're back toward Echo. I've really been trying to get better at this map lately, and sometimes it feels like you're making progress, and sometimes it really does not. So, Tukjun-sa do take out a BTR-80A and the infantry inside. It's a pretty nice victory for us. Yukjun died down to 2 men, 1 man, and killed. And my Tukjun-sa are moving out of the way. I'm expecting a B5. I'm expecting something coming in there to punish them. So we're moving over into the trees and moving up the UH-60P just to distract, draw attention, and everything like that. But with the cap on Charlie almost in place, we are going to be dropping off my opponent's +2 ticking. So he's at about 60 right now to 0, but if I can counter cap Delta, then that's a pretty good spot, and I'm reasonably confident he doesn't have anything in my side in Charlie, so that was pretty nice. Bravo also seemed to be contested, but relatively in my favor after the T90S kill, so I was thinking to myself, okay, we can counter cap Delta, we can maybe take Bravo, and that should be good enough if we can just hold Echo instead of pushing through. So K1 is following this push. We do get a couple shots again on just really expensive infantry. I almost wonder if there weren't a lot of cheaper options in this deck, but an SU-25K is coming out. That is pretty scary, those Sal H missiles, but he's turning. Probably lost line of sight, not really sure, and trying to get a couple nice kills here. Let's see, evac ordered. Yeah, that was in response to the Block 52, of course, doubles as a seaplane and ASF. No radar AA spotted in the area, no missiles coming in, so I felt relatively safe with that. But as soon as he's back and out of the way, and these guys are moving forward, well, it's gonna be an interesting time. I really needed a second ASF up because, as you guys are going to see here in just a second, here comes that B5 again, and I really need this thing to die. It's 160 points. He's actually getting close to getting his value back off that guy. Evac ordered, so Fibao escorting, but here comes the Block 52, swing and a miss. Third shot goes in, and down goes the B5. One shot off the Fibao, but a swing and a miss as the Fibao gets out. Unfortunately, I lost all my So Chung-Su. I do still have the JSTF Rangers, and them combined with the K1 might be able to do some good stuff. We're going to shoot through the gap here in the woods and up and around, looking to get into those meaty backline sort of shenanigans that don't actually exist. Usually this is where people have AA, they have resupply vehicles, or just a whole bunch of stuff they don't want getting shot at, and it wasn't really there, so there was more of an engagement in Foxtrot, and also building up a fair amount of units in Delta, probably trying to push me out, since he does know that there's something in those far side towns. Again, the more you know, this is why Recon is, if you think you have enough of it, you're wrong. But Rangers are going to be spotting here, and by spotting, I mean not spotting anything at all, which is going to prompt me to be a little bit more aggressive with the other units here, but we're going to have to watch out, because I don't have infantry as much as I'd like on that side, which means a counterattack through those woods is entirely possible, and in fact probable, as we see a couple of units going through that way. So the K1 can get his gun online, that might be a good thing here. Plane coming in, probably going after the K1, but we get into the woods just in time. That guy's only target is, it looks like, an HMV. Yeah, I mean, that was scary, right? It's going off the K200, it's a bit of a swing and a miss, but we nearly lost the K1, and now I know that my enemy is, well, he really wants it pretty badly, and he has the SU-25K just hanging out, waiting to get those kills, and this is where Geogos Dai ambush me. So K1 does turn to face. We are going to be reverse moving out of the woods here, but Rangers cannot stand up to these guys in a straight up fight, and the K1 just barely dodging. Of course, the 25K is taken out by an F-15J, Lucky for me, otherwise he definitely would have gotten the K1 pretty quickly there. But you can see these guys are wrecking my Rangers, they're wrecking my K1, and the main tank cannon, I guess it wasn't shooting in at these guys? I don't know, going for the BTRs. Sometimes life is weird. But here comes another SU-25K, and this is what I'm kind of talking about. Too much air investment, 110 point plane to replace the one that was just killed. Yeah, he's going to wreck my K1 if he gets this online. There it is. Down he goes, and I don't have an answer quite yet, actually. Wait. Ha, jeez. I think I got my second Block 52. Looks like he does get out, and Block 52 is going in against 27 SK. I'm out of missiles. He's still going. Stunned, but alive with 2 points and evac ordered. Let's see if we can get out. Last missile's on the way, and yeah. Better lucky than good sometimes. That should have been a kill. The SC-27SK should have gotten it. Now, however, my Rangers finishing off, well, fighting with the last of those Geogosdai, and I do have Bonbu headed into Delta, which will flip this into a +1 for my end of the field. Of course, making up for an 86-point deficit is not great, and this has been a rather standoffish game, but I don't know, I felt reasonably confident that we were at least taxing him in the air, which is better than nothing. So, we're going to try mixing things up. If it doesn't work at first, don't just do it again, do something different, and that's going to be our mantra here. Of course, the K9 Thunder is going to get a nice, cheeky CV kill, so if we take a look in... oh, where is it? Oh, I swore it was around there somewhere. This was capped, now it's no longer. It was, in fact, the K9 Thunder that did that difference maker, but we're going to be following it up with a whole bunch of K1s and these little cheap Sun Gung Po vehicles. Now these guys quad M2 Browning, quite hilarious. I think it's just funny. I've never really had one kill anything, but that's not why they're there. They're there to provide additional targets for my K1 to hide behind. So we're going to be bringing those up and around, trying to get through on Foxtrot, because I think my opponent has had a relatively strong hold in the center here on the wooded side of Fox and then in the middle in response to my own sort of attempt to exploit that gap. We haven't seen another B5 buy, and that is a good thing. My QMR Shiki is still alive. That is a good thing as well. So it's not like we're exactly in danger at the moment. It just is one of those where I'm trying to figure out the best way to move forward, and I think this might have some reasonable chance. Of course, you guys saw the other day, if you can get scout tanks into these woods, it's very difficult for the Red 4 player to go back and take those guys out. But we do have a push coming in toward Delta, so BTRs, more Geogosdai. Well, Computer and I talked a little bit after this, and he's switching up his deck to include a bit more cheap infantry to sort of pad out more of the sheer map area than those really expensive infantry let you do. And you can see we are gathering the, I guess, the tip of the spear here, these 10-point quad Browning vehicles gathered in a large group. AH-1J also supporting, going to be hanging a little bit farther back. My OH-60 hasn't died yet, and that is nice, but I don't want to lead in with the AH-1J and just get him killed off the bat for free before these guys encounter something for him to get his rocket pods into. So, Chumat's trying to move up as well, get a better line of sight here as we are going to be spotting things in Foxtrot shortly, but I needed recon infantry, I needed some rangers or Tukjeonsa up there, and I didn't really have them. Hachi Nanoshiki does get a kill, and with that we are going to be getting, it's not a recon tank, but it is a recon vehicle up there, trying to get some good use out of it, and the Seunggung Pos are going to be headed down the side. I wanted them all to go through the right-hand side to dodge that town, but unfortunately one of them just wasn't really listening that well, and now we do have some recon infantry coming up in a UH-60P to sort of accommodate this. Does take some fire, and this is why I wanted to dodge that town, but look at those quad Brownings, man. All of those vehicles shooting in, only able to get, it looks like, 2 kills on the Geogosdai. Pretty effective at stunning them, though, and that is pretty nice. But here comes a J7H, of course, 1,000-kilogram bomber, and I don't know, it's a 70-point plane, it's a 1,000-kilogram bomb, and even if I lose a couple vehicles, I lost 1. 10 points off that, then a little bit more off of this as well, as my F-15J tries to get some kills, does sort of not quite get as many as I'd like. Another F-15J coming up, and let's see, yeah, one of them's lost. We're going in after the 27SK. Bad targeting priority, I should have gone after the damaged one here first, but, I mean, that is what it is. Evac ordered, trying to get out, and unfortunately not able to kill that second 25K. So, that might come back to bite us later on if you can get those SAL-H missiles online. I was trying to keep things hidden here and have them waste them on the Seunggung Pos, but it looks like the Hachi Nanoshiki out a little bit sooner than he should be. He might get targeted by one of those, a bit hard to say. I don't know, this was one of the lower stress games I played recently. There's not a ton going on everywhere at once. I'm getting kind of used to casting those big team fights, and there's always something doing. So Block 52D, unfortunately not able to get the kill either, which was kind of upsetting. 4 AMRAAM missiles and nothing. So I do take the additional turnaround. This guy probably should have been evac before this, well before this, honestly. Just hanging around trying to discourage a K1 for that long will just get you killed one way or another, and evac ordered on the Block 52D, as I don't want to hang around there any longer myself. So we are going to shoot the gap here, trying to get up toward Gulf, trying to get any sort of kills on the home zone there of my opponent. A couple of Type 59 2Bs, and this is going to be an interesting test. So if you see, I've took Junsa spotting, I have a UH-60P as a distraction, I have some N67 Hans with their recoilless rifles, great standoff weapons there in the back, and a couple of Hachikyuu Shikis to try and get spotting from one side and fire from 2 others, maybe even 3 others if the Carl Gustav M2s can get online. So let's see what happens to these Type 59s as they move forward. Yeah, okay, so shooting in at the UH-60P. That might also be something else there with any sort of Igla. No, these guys actually have Strelas, which is part of what makes them, in my opinion, quite nice. But Tukjunsa are fighting in against the Geogos Dai, and you can see, yeah, I mean, this is a very effective firing concave. These guys start at 30 men, 15-point squads each, down to 14, one of them dead entirely, and the Hans, I mean, yeah, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that sort of fire. They're stunned, they're in the woods, oh sorry, they're in the middle of the plains, and they're not getting support from those allied tanks. If the tanks had moved up now, this was their opportunity. They could have hit the Hachikyuu Shikis while they were targeting something else and potentially killed those guys outright and really made a big difference there. Unfortunately, we have lost a couple things. My AH-1J did get taken out by some anti-air in Gulf, and that's going to be a bit of a retreat and hold on this side, as I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, this is a partial success. We're holding off in Delta kind of okay. I did lose a Hachikyuu Shiki, but if my Hans can get forward, we can maybe take out those Type 59s without too much trouble. Autocannon as well, doing some pretty good anti-armor work there, if he can have the time to shoot it. And then maybe with that sneak around over here, it might be time to just bull through. So we have a lot of K200s, some Kyuroku WAPCs as well, moving forward, and we're going to prep ourselves for one big push down the pipe. So as we do wind up for that, I think most of the fighting in Delta is gone. Not a lot of fighting in Bravo either. And if we look at the neutral, yeah, I mean, I think we were both kind of spread out at this point. A fair amount of carnage on either side, you gotta remember. And unfortunately, that plane can get out before I can do anything about it. It looks like Computer's guarding his home zone now a little bit as well. But the Kyurokus are just pulling up, the K200s just pulling up as well, and I'm also getting a couple more units headed over to Bravo. Not pushing in Delta, there's no need. We've been sitting at +3 for a while, and with the Sochang-su engaging against Geogos Dai, that is going to be the beginning of this push. So, unloaded infantry here, Kyuroku's leading the way, Hachikyuu is right behind them, and a Kiyomiura Shiki to anchor. Only problem here again is I don't have enough recon, but I figured anything shoots at us, we'll get it when it's time to shoot back. Not the best idea, but basically I thought I could get away with it, which encouraged lazy play. At least self-reflective. As you can see, we did take a shot there and I couldn't see it. No scouting in this area is coming back to bite me. But there it is, and it's some sort of tank. A couple of those Geomat missiles are online. Let's take a look. Type 59 1B, not the heaviest deal in the world, 40-point tank, and he is taken out without too much trouble. These guys, upon encountering something in the woods here, are going to be unloaded and shooting in, and I grabbed them. I sent one of them to the east and one of them to the north, so you can see they are splitting apart, trying to avoid those bombing runs if I can, and this is the time that other K1's making himself known against a FOB? I mean, fine, I guess. It's kind of weird. We killed his FOB, I didn't mean to. One of those accidental things from turning on fire against logistics is you now fire on FOBs all the time. But I mean, we're still holding pretty well here. The Hachi no Shiki is scouting for us, and the K1 is getting that nice fire online. And you can see we've pushed right through Foxtrot, and that is going to be pretty much unrecoverable, as that does prompt a surrender here from my opponent. So, very nice game to Computer, I guess. My opponent's with the trolley name. I don't know, it's not like mine's any better. 1455 kills, 855 losses, and 353 conquest points to 86. Pretty okay victory. I've lost by that margin before, and it feels a little bit rough. Probably could have been a bit more aggressive in the mid-game, but in terms of units that did well, Kiyomiura Shiki with the kill on the T90S immediately paid for himself. Didn't do a heck of a lot more, but he did anchor that formation pretty well. Took Junsa on the far side, got a lot of good kills. K1, not so well. and the F-15Js did do some pretty good work as well. K9 Thunder, this is the kill that we just barely missed on an enemy CV, is of course worth it. I should have used it more. I'm always disappointed with that. I'll bring out artillery pieces like the Thunder, and I'll get a couple volleys off, and then I'll kind of forget about it when other crises start popping up, and that's something that I definitely need to work on there. But the other K1 did get his value back against a fob, so I guess it all works out in the end. Alright, well that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.